All right, good evening, everybody. Again, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our space, Building 80. Um, Welcome back to folks who have been here. Just for some reference, this is a new building on the main quad that was built for the Department of African and African American Studies. It's a very historical moment for us to have our own space on the quad. And I also want to just welcome you to this wonderful event this evening. Um, that's New Orleans as Method, end of course, celebration and exhibition. Okay. My name is Katie Dieter, and I'm the Director of Advanced Studies and Community Engaged Learning in the Department of African and African American Studies here at Stanford. And so I want to begin by grounding us in what community engaged learning means for us as a department. Community engagement is a foundational part of our curriculum. It is part of our curriculum major. Um, and so it's also a fundamental way of understanding the field of Black studies, which is deeply rooted in and also shaped by community. So if you look, if you all haven't seen it, but when you leave, you'll see this mural over here, the photo mural, um, which features the moment that Black student union members took back the mic from the provost at the time to read a list of demands. One of those demands included the formation of a Department of African and African American Studies. What some people don't know, a lot of you do, but some people don't know, is that along with BSU members were folks from East Palo Alto, which is a neighboring community, who were also part of this movement and worked with BSU members and others in the 1960s. Community members also helped forge the path for the formation of Black Studies at San Francisco State University, which was the first Black Studies department in the country. Hey. And so Black Studies has always been in conversation with, accountable to, and is co-created alongside the communities that it studies and that it engages with. So the community engaged learning initiatives in our department really seek to build upon this legacy. And so these include international, domestic, and local learning courses and expeditions. So each year, our department plans to host at least one domestic learning exhibition. So this New Orleans trip was the first for our department, which is very exciting. Yes. And we also offer local community engaged learning experiences through courses that are taught in our department, along with our Art in the City series, which we have Leah Dunn Salahuddin has hosted for the last 4 years. And then we also have international community engaged learning experiences, which include a course in Kingston, Jamaica that's focused on the arts that I teach, and then also a course in Accra, Ghana that's taught by our chair, Professor Otto Quayson. So the ideal model for these courses begins with a pre-course, like this New Orleans course that was taught in the winter quarter. And then that's where students will build critical frameworks and also prepare thoughtfully for community engagement. Then comes the immersive experience where students are not just visiting a place, but engaging thoughtfully with its institutions, communities, histories, with a continuous emphasis on ethical modes of engagement. These approaches are also co-developed with students and instructors through shared community guidelines that are developed during the course. And then importantly, the engagement continues after the trip concludes. So all of our community engaged learning initiatives include some form of a post-course public-facing project, like the exhibition we're here to experience tonight. So these projects are designed to extend engagement beyond the course itself and beyond the trip, allowing students to integrate what they've learned and to remain in relationship with each other and the communities that they've engaged with. So I want to take a moment to recognize Professor Jessica Monette. So Jessica hails from New Orleans and also holds an MFA in art practice from Stanford. So she developed this course that was titled New Orleans as Method, Time, Tradition, and the Art of Black Cultural Production. And this course approached New Orleans not just as a place, but as a method, a living archive of Black creativity, of resistance, and of survival. So during the trip, students spent time with artists in their studios, participated in a second line. That was that photo you saw with me with the snake. That was during the second line. They moved through the city on guided tours, visited museums and galleries, encountering firsthand how Black cultural production holds memory, marks time, and also resists erasure. So what you're seeing tonight is the culmination of that experience, where students translate those encounters into critically creative forms. So we have the exhibition in here, and also afterwards, please feel free to take a look at the journals. They were up here. We've pushed them over to the side here, and also the texts that were used in the course. So I want to thank you, Professor Monette, for all of the deep care, the intention, the depth that you brought to this experience. It really not only made a mark on the students and all of us who were on the trip, but also to the department as the first trip for our department. So just appreciate it. We're also very deeply grateful that Isaiah Michael Joyner is here with us this evening. Isaiah so graciously opened his beautiful home to us in New Orleans to see his Black art collection. And then he walked us through the city. We went to the Stella Jones Gallery and then to Mr. Wolf, which is a coffee shop and art gallery, where he moderated a panel with Black artists from New Orleans. So we really appreciate that you're here with us this evening, and we'll be hearing more from Isaiah very shortly. I also want to thank all of the students in the class. It's really a pleasure getting to experience New Orleans with you all. And also just to see how much you've poured into the projects, the journals, the collages that you've made. Yes, very proud of our students in the class. And then lastly, I also want to thank the Center for Teaching and Learning for their generous support of this course and experience through a curriculum transformation grant that our department received. So in final, that this exhibition is a beautiful culmination of the work of Black studies and community engaged learning, which really allows us to think critically, to build relationships, to remain accountable, and to create work that's not only analytical, but also responsive and grounded in lived realities and experiences. So it also helps us to understand knowledge as something that is produced both with and through community. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate you and enjoy the rest of the trip.
Thank you so much, Katie. I appreciate that warm introduction to the course and to my work and what I had the pleasure of experiencing with my students. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So as she mentioned, I'm Jessica Monette, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been here in Palo Alto area, living in East Palo Alto for 16 years now. Yeah, and so this course has been my dream to merge theory with practice because to me they're the same thing. They need to be in the same realm. And so I'm so thankful for the opportunity to do this in this department in particular. It felt like a homecoming. So thank you to the department. Yeah. So Just a little bit more about the course. So the course uses New Orleans, my hometown, not just as place, but as method. And we approach the city as a living archive of Black creativity, history, and cultural production. Grounded in the principles of Sankofa, we began with understanding that we must look back in order to move forward, that the past is not behind us, but it is present. New Orleans as method is a framework, an entry point for students to think about their own cultures and their own histories and their own lived experiences. This is important because it reminds students that they don't have to shed who they are to belong, and that their lived experiences, their perspectives, their histories are valid and are meaningful contributions to the spaces that they will be moving through. It affirms that knowledge doesn't come from institutions, only from institutions, but from lived experience, memory, and culture. The course moves between Black literary scholarship, displayed here on the table, art as a way of processing, and lived immersive experiences our week in New Orleans, then culminating, of course, in this final exhibition. As we move through the city, histories, and contemporary cultures, we worked across key themes of memory, interiority, spirituality, curiosity, race, class, resistance, and innovation, to name a few, grounding them in the lived realities of New Orleans. Many of the texts that informed our exploration of interiority, spirituality, resistance, and innovation, as I said before, are on the table here. So I encourage you when we break again to engage with some of those, or at least take a picture of a few of them and explore them on your own time. This class was and is too expansive to fully capture here in this moment, but the exhibition offers a bit of an entry point. It attempts to express what words alone cannot and remind us of the power of art, not just as expression, but as a way of knowing and as a vehicle for shifting cultures and shifting classrooms. Mm. One of the most powerful moments for me was perfect timing. The second line. That was perfect. Was the second line because we engaged and talked and pulled apart the histories of where second line culture came from. But when we were in New Orleans, us, the students, became the second line, right? So we shifted from theory to practice to lived and embodied archive, right? Um, and it reminds us that this kind of knowledge, lived, felt, and embodied, is just as valid and just as rigorous as anything that happens inside of a classroom. This exhibition is an extension of that experience, and the work you see here reflects each student's engagement, bringing together personal narrative, culture, cultural history, and material exploration. You'll see their journals on the other table here, where process and reflection took place on a weekly basis, given the prompts of the class. And so they also had um, readings that they were responding to, but also artist videos that they were responding to as well. I want to take the time to thank the students because you have to be open enough to be part of this process. This classroom was a space where I was asking people to think and talk about things that are vulnerable. And so you all's willingness is the only thing that made that work, because if you weren't willing, it wouldn't have happened. So I really want to take the time to thank you all for your participation, not only in the classroom, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous about going into another state with a group of students. Thank you, thank you. But it all worked out. So I would love to have my students, please come to the front. Come on, come on. Billy, thank you so much. Alana, thank you so much. This is the class, y'all. Most of class. So thank y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate. Oh, and where's my Josie? Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm about to say, Oh, this is my TA. I could not have done this without her.
That's right.
I love you. Love you too. Yeah. Whew. Trying to keep it together, but okay. All right. And then, okay. So thank y'all. Y'all can have a seat. I can't even see my page. And then I want to thank Dr. Katie Dieter, Ashanti Johnson. Can't keep it together, Lord.
Yeah.
Sandra, I can't see my paper. Cindy, Tabo, Gannett, and the department chair, Dr. Otto Quason. For all of y'all's support. Extra thanks to you again. Yeah. And lastly, I'd like to thank my husband. All of the support, all of the late nights, me trying to figure out what the syllabus is going to be, and does this make sense? And can you listen to what this says? And can you read this for me? And just being there. And I wish my son and my daughter they're at home, but one's at work. Thanking them as well for being patient with me because I have to leave and I'm gone and I'm working and I'm not there as much as I would like to be sometimes. And so I ask them for their patience as well. So. Okay. Yes, I'm good. Whew, ciao. And then also, Katie, you already said, but we also do want to thank the Center for Teaching and Learning for making this kind of experiential learning, embodied learning possible. So, all right. With that being said, now y'all got me on tape crying. That's great. Okay. And now I'm really excited to invite Isaiah Michael Joyner into the conversation. Isaiah is a collector of Black art, a curator, a connector, someone deeply invested in building relationships, meaningful relationships, between artists, communities, and cultural spaces. His work is rooted in commitment to supporting and sustaining Black artists, not just through collecting, but through creating pathways for visibility and dialogue and exchange. We had the opportunity to spend time with Isaiah in New Orleans, where he shared his home and his art collection with the students, faculty, and staff present on the trip. His approach really resonated with the themes of the course, thinking about art not just as an object, but as a living practice tied to history, culture, and community. Please join me in welcoming Isaiah Michael Joyner. I need an intermission, y'all.
Well, I'll take an intermission really quick. I was sitting there, so I didn't know who was all in here, but I got to take a photo of everybody. Because this is really important, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, you could rather yourself, and then I'm going to just take a photo and...
Oh,
let's see. 1, 2, 3.
My other faculty and staff.
I love that your pose. Okay, here we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take one more.
Oh, and then Gannett.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, let me just grab.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. So we have some slides prepared for you all for your enjoyment. But let's start with, first of all, how are you feeling? You feeling good?
I feel really good.
Yeah.
This is good.
This is beautiful.
This is really good for multiple reasons. One, first and foremost, thank you. Secondly, I don't know if everybody knows this, but I'm just gonna put you on blast. But happy birthday!
Yeah. Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah. Happy birthday. So
Thank
what better
you.
way to celebrate?
I know with all of y'all.
Yes.
Yes.
So I feel good.
Yes. Okay, so I want to ask you, as a collector, how has New Orleans shaped your understanding of art, culture, and community? How does living in New Orleans shape the stories or artists you feel most connected to in your collection?
So I'll say this. Every time I land in New Orleans, first and foremost, I'm from Newark, New Jersey.
Me too. Oh my god.
First of all, come here. Hey, like, girl, you like yes. Oh, what part?
I'm on like the other side of Branch Brother.
Me too. No more. Okay. So tell me your name. Josiah, I love that name. So you'll get this. Being from Newark, New Jersey, right? When I say Newark, people are like, "Oh, what part of North New Jersey?" Right? And I'm like, Newark. And then I'm like Brick City, Whitney Houston, right? So I'm from already a soulful city. And then to make a choice to live in New Orleans, a choice into another soulful city is it was a choice, right? But when I land in New Orleans every time, and I travel so much, but tomorrow morning when I land or tomorrow afternoon, there's a feeling you get in New Orleans. It's a soulful feeling, and I'm certain most of you, the students um, who were there and staff, you feel it, right? And so for me, how it shapes how I view art and culture. It shapes it in many ways, right? From the way that I shop now, grocery shop, right? If you're in New Orleans, there's certain things like so New Orleans. I was in a grocery store and the lady is buying or she's shopping, and they say make groceries, right? It's
I
not
was
going
gonna say that. I
shopping,
know
right?
where you're going with this. We don't
So
shop for groceries. We make
we
groceries.
make groceries, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn that.
Mhm.
Let me dish you instead of let me serve you something. Let me dish you, right? Um, so it's from the dialect, the way New Orleanian people speak, to the way they dress. Like I always say, you all went to second line. You want to see some of the most decorative and not only just in emotion and presence, but also in wardrobe. Go to second line, right? So speak, wardrobe, but then also it's a feeling.
Mhm.
And so for me, how it's shaped how I view art and then artists and that I feel most connected to from New Orleans, I believe I would say that it's in their work that I feel those same things, right? That I can like, oh, I feel movement in this, right? I feel spirit in this. And so, yeah.
So, in your role as a collector, how do you see art functioning as a form of cultural preservation?
Mm.
Like thinking about collecting. First of all, let's start with maybe let's back it out a little bit. How did you start collecting?
Oh, okay. I started collecting one easily. I started collecting because I had moved to New Orleans. And I had moved from Jersey at the time, and I was starting over. And so, for those of you who have to start over, when you graduate, and don't fret it. I made a U-turn. I lived in Harlem for years after college, and then I had to move back home to Jersey with my mother. And at the time, it seemed as if it was like a horrible, horrible, horrible U-turn, right? But I had no furniture and all the things I gave up. So when I first moved to New Orleans, um, I needed all things, right? And I had like this unit up, or like, bedroom and all these things. And I was like, I have no art on my walls, right? But I knew that I wanted to not just have my walls adorned with just, pieces, right? Or things. I wanted it to be significant. So then as I started collecting in New Orleans, I realized I was like, wait a minute, I have it. This is not just about my walls. This is not just about me adorning the space with decorative things, but this is deeper. This is a connection. And so I got into really collecting from first, as many people do, making your space beautiful, but then being called. I was called to collect. And I know that.
And so, in that call, what is that call? What does that mean
Sure.
for you to become a collector? And what are you fostering in that collection?
For me, it means that I want to know beyond, I want subject matter and all those things, all those wonderful, heady things that come with, when you're looking at a piece, right? But I want to know the artist. I want to know the connection. I want to know where they're from, like all the things, right? But I also want to know how can I advance their career in it, right? And when I started like finding connection with artists and where we'd be on text exchange, I started to be like, oh, this is a little different, right? This is no longer just about me collecting, but this is about relationship. And when I realized that I was developing intentional, strong relationship with artists, that's when I knew that it was bigger than just collecting.
So tell me about the space you're in now. Like how, as we've talked about your initial, and we are going off the cuff.
Oh, no, I like this.
Because I'm like, I can just put that down. So you started with, wanting things to make your home look beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Then that evolved into something else.
Yes.
And now you're in another stage of what being a collector is. Do you want to talk a little bit about, the evolution of
Sure.
your collecting?
The evolution of my collecting is this moment right now. So the reason why I wanted to take a photo of you all is because it is truly just like, for me, a creative moment, like a moment that was divinely designed, right? I have been at it with collecting and showing up in intentional spaces and places and how I show up for the last few years. And so even how I met you. And to have this full circle moment happen, there's been those moments happening nonstop as of late with me, where I know this is aligned, right? So that's why I had to take a photo of all your wonderful faces. To that point, I've been able to realize now, speaking of calling, I told you this yesterday, but y'all, I go to sleep and I'm thinking about art, right? I wake up thinking about art, and I'm not an artist, right? But I'm like, what am I creating to support artists, right? And so I'm a business owner, number one. But I am now realizing that my calling is truly to create a business in art that creates a pipeline, as you read my bio, it creates a pipeline to make sure that Black and brown artists have opportunity, and that when we go into the Cantor Center of Art, right? Is that it? Yeah. That we see more Black and brown people and work on the walls, and that we don't feel like it's a space that is hollowed ground without us. That we are able to know that also as a collector, that we are not just collecting so that our wall at our homes or where we live is beautiful, but that we're loaning our work, right? That we're showing, so that we are showing people this is what Black and brown art looks like, right? And that we're in this space. And so my calling now is to support artists, Black gallerists, right? Art educators, and more importantly, curators and people in the space to make sure we all know each other. The world is very small, as we know, and it only becomes smaller if you start to focus really finite on a community of people.
I love that. We need y'all. As an artist myself, it's been, tough navigating certain spaces because being an artist is a vulnerable space. You're putting your heart and soul and things out into the world. And sometimes you want to be very conscious about where you're putting that work. But the spaces have to exist.
Absolutely.
And so I'm listening to you talk about curators and gallerists and other artists, and you're connecting all of those spaces together. Tell me about why you feel like that. I mean, we kind of touched on it, but why do you feel like that's so significant in terms of us telling our own stories?
It's significant for many reasons. I'll tell you a story. And this is actually when we first met. So I, in short, I was buying in New Orleans, there was a piece of art that I saw that I loved. I was like, oh, I gotta have it. It was, if you all know David Hammond, who is, we know David. So David Hammond, for those who don't know, but he created, he took his play on the Pan-African American flag, or Pan-African flag, and those colors, red, black, and green. And then he mixed it with, and then combined rather, the form of the U.S. flag, right? With the stripes and the stars. And so I saw a flag that was a new take on David Hammond's flag in New Orleans, and it was dipped in resin, and immediately it spoke to me. And I went to the gallerist and I was like, oh, that's my piece. And he said, sure. I called him, and I will tell you this, research, right? I'm normally great with researching the artist. Again, I can tell the artist their mother's name. They'd be like, wait, what? Yeah, what? Like, how you know that? But I did not research, right? I was traveling, and and all I knew is I liked the piece and I wanted it. But for me to collect Black and brown artists, I need to know who they are and all the things. And when I researched, long story short, I'm sitting in the car or on my way. I was at a conversation. I look, and there I see this white guy with long hair. And immediately I was like, oh, okay, like interesting, right? Um, and one may say, well, what's wrong with that, right? But to your point of the connection with the artists and telling Black and brown artists telling their story, it didn't resonate well with me. And so as a Black collector and a collector of Black and brown art, I've thought about it. I was like, well, how do I put this piece up and then say, oh yeah, that's made by this guy right here, right? Who is not Black and brown, and especially the subject matter it was, right? It didn't sit well with me. And so to that point, it's important for artists when it comes to telling their story, right? And acquiring work of artists that look like what we're seeing in the work, right? Or what we're feeling in the work. And so um, that's my take. I know some people are like, well, but for me, I need to make sure there's a through line from who's actually painting or doing the artwork to who's behind the story of the art. And so, yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because it sounds like you're being intentional about where you're putting your dollars
absolutely.
so that they circulate in a particular way and uplift. Because that's
Yeah.
what you're doing when you buy a piece of art from an artist, you're uplifting them because that's their career. We're waiting on y'all to buy the work so that we can keep doing what we're doing, right? Yeah, I so appreciate you being here.
Of course.
Are there any last things that you would like to say before we open it up to the audience for a couple questions before we start the music and the festivities again?
A few things. One, to Esme, I don't see, where's Esme? Like,
Where is Esme?
well, Esme's work, all of the work, I think one of the questions you had was about their work.
Mm-hmm.
And after what stood out, or not stood out, but Esme, that work is incredible. The second one on this wall right here spoke to me. And then, is it Jalea?
Jael?
Yeah.
Jael. This one? The red and blue?
The description, I don't know where Jael is, but the description,
Right there.
yes, I remember you. Yeah, so Jael, your description about New Orleans.
And the connection
connection
between her hometown and New
yes.
Orleans. Mm-hmm.
So well done. I'm honored again to be here. I'm honored to see so many wonderful faces and brilliant minds.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're all right in the future when we have these moments. And so, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so we can take a couple of questions from the audience. Yeah.
First of all, great to hear your background and interest. I'm curious on a couple things. One is, how do we see your collection? And maybe I've been Googling it. I don't see any.
We're gonna answer that for you really quickly. Just a look. Yeah, we got a few slides, but yes, okay.
There's a few slides and there's a pamphlet.
Yes.
How do we see your work? And if we're in New Orleans, how do we see your work?
Well, we'll stay connected. First of all, you're coming for Jazz Fest. Okay. We're gonna connect because also during Jazz Fest, there's some really wonderful artists, obviously, who sell their work, and there's an artist there, not to not answer the other question, but there's a wonderful artist from Chicago, Martha Wade, who will be there. I want to make sure you meet. Secondly, we're going to connect right now, and I don't mind showing my art. And so, what's your name?
Eric.
Well, obviously. Yeah. And then what's your other question, Eric?
Well, it's really relating to that. I just, you talked about starting collections, et cetera, but I'm curious as maybe, do you have a theme in collection? Like I'm a collector
Okay.
and I have no theme. It's
Okay.
like what speaks to me, I like and I get, or I'm traveling and that's a remembrance of something, and obviously filling wall space, which is more than the walls that I have. So I'm just curious your themes,
Okay.
um, and how they changed, or maybe like what are you looking at now?
So theme is it started with, well, obviously we know black, right? Um, but the theme, it started with male subject first, right? I was interested in seeing so many. I wanted to see black men smiling and happy, right? I wanted to see young black boys smiling and happy. So I started acquiring a lot of like black men, black boys, and then after a while, I said to myself, "This is like a meat locker. Okay, hold on, let's change up, right? Like let's diversify the space." And can you hold that actually right there? Yeah. And then I started to then diversify by way of, obviously there's works on paper. There was mixed media, all the different things. But then I was like, wait a minute, there is so many wonderful black women who are doing things like tapestry, right? And sculptural work like Marjani Merriweather from Baltimore. If you don't know her, research her. She's amazing. And this is Ruby. And so I started getting into more sculptural pieces, right? And it's been evolving. I'll tell you what currently right now has my radar after going to like different art fairs. Um, I'm all about tapestry, like all about it. There's a Donna Tillman. There's a artist from Atlanta, and I haven't. You all saw the piece, but it's a small piece or the first piece with Bianca Walker. So I'm into, and this is not tapestry. No, this is just. But to that point, women artists, right? Supporting Black women artists, and so yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I answered that. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we can take another question?
What has been the most challenging and then most fulfilling part of your work?
Hmm. Most challenge. Most challenging is always making sure you got enough money, right? Like jokes. Like, wait, I want that. Okay, got it. Not yet. Most fulfilling is knowing that somebody is going to be seen, heard, recognized by me supporting them. And that when an artist calls and says thank you, right? You purchased, or I'm getting ready to do an artist in residency because of you, right? That is what's the most fulfilling. It's larger than me. Anything that we do, we have to make sure that it's larger than us. And if it is only centered around us, then what we're doing is in vain. Um, so yeah, this would be the two.
Sorry, I was curious as to how exactly do you maintain these relationships with these artists kind of going forward? Because an ally is a very good thing to have, to know you have someone in your corner. And with something as beautiful as art, people are always constantly creating. So I was just curious.
It's about being intentional, right? You know what feels forced, right? You know, if somebody sends you a text talking about, hey, what's up? And you haven't heard from them, as my mother would say, in a month or Sunday, right? A long time. But you know they're coming to your area, they're coming here, right? And they may need a place to stay. You're like, well, that feels inauthentic, right? They're just reaching out. Um, when you have connectivity and and stick-to-itiveness and being connected to people, then it doesn't feel forced, right? And so for me, it's check-ins. It doesn't have to be every day. It could literally be one of the artists, Will Watson. I thought about him. I'm like, oh, I included him. And I just said, hey, included you in the presentation. I'm going to speak. How are you? Let's get on the phone next week, right? It's about intentional movement that's not forced. And people remember that. What's your name?
Nefemi.
Nathaniel. People gonna remember if you show up. Nafemi. Oh, Nafemi. Sorry. Nafemi. People are gonna they're gonna remember how you make them feel, right? Obviously. And especially when it's not forced.
Okay. And lastly, I think I would ask you to impart a little bit of advice to any other people who are thinking about, collecting. Like, how do what is your advice to people who would want to start their art collection?
Yeah. I like to call it my like art mantra. We hear it all the time. Buy what you love, right? That's you can't say it enough. Buy what you love. Buy what speaks to you, right? Um, and also buy within your means. I don't, like I say this all the time, and I think I still told some of the students from York, I don't believe in being art poor, right? Um, I am one who, where I am currently, because of relationship, I need to do a payment arrangement, right? They used to call it layaway, but this day they call it a firm, a Klarna, right? We know those things. I do that, right? Not literally, but but if you want to start your collection, start with what speaks to you and what you love, and then start with what works for you financially. All art is not expensive art, right? Right? And all art, or to acquire art doesn't mean that you have to be a multimillionaire and someone with 7 figures in the bank. You just have to have a passion for it.
And we'll close on that note.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much time? Just no, because I can go. So okay. Ooh, I am nervous. Okay, hi everyone. Hi. My name is Leah. I am from New Orleans East. The East is really important. And this is my work right here. If you've met me or established a relationship with me, I never shut up about home. Like never, ever, ever shut up. Um, a little bit about me. I was adamant about leaving the city. I was like, you couldn't pay me to stay. In fact, I didn't apply to any schools because I knew they were gonna try to get me to stay because they were gonna give me money. Um, and so you're meeting me, if you don't know me, you're meeting me at a time where I'm about to graduate. And so I'm full of emotions and reflecting on the idea that I was so adamant about leaving. And then being in my senior year, having experienced 4 years at Stanford and having had chronic homesickness every single day has been really laughable to me because I would have never thought that I would have left and would have wanted to go back every single day. And don't want to get emotional either. People have talked about the city. It's very special. You have to experience it. I took it for granted. I did not know the rest of the world wasn't like New Orleans. I didn't know that the friendships in my family was so special. Like I knew they were special, but I didn't know like they was that rare. I didn't know that I wouldn't be able to replicate that somewhere else. And I'm so grateful and I can't believe that a place like Stanford, and as challenging as it has been, also gave me one of the most special experiences I've had so far because that trip home, was like I was going back for the first time in many ways. Like, Professor Monet exposed me to things I had never experienced growing up. Like, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be an artist, and that's what I call myself now. Um, I didn't grow up thinking that my vulnerability and my sensitivity was, genuinely my superpower. I didn't think it was going to take me this far. Like, talking really works for me. Like, it's amazing. Yeah, I did not know. Um, I didn't know my ability to be myself was that special. Like, I just only know how to be myself. Um, but coming to a school like Stanford where there's this greater thing that's pushing you to be a mold, I just think is ridiculous. Like, that's so boring, you know? But I come from a city where you're gonna get called out for not being yourself. Like your friends are gonna pull you to the side and be like, that's not you, your grandma, your mom, and I have so many memories of my mom seeing it, seeing that I was trying to be something that wasn't me. And I can remember her telling me, it's okay to be who you are. And I didn't know what she was doing, but I got here and I know what she was doing. She was putting that confidence. And Stanford has been so hard, so hard. And yet it's forced me to fall in love even more with myself. I love the person that I've become after these 4 years. I'm so excited to see who else I become. And I'm so grateful for where I come from.
I love my little blue house in the East, and I love my family and my friends and the schools and the cities and the humor and the jokes and the dress. Like, I love everything that that place has made me. And I've been scared that my time away would make me lose it. But going home and meeting artists from the city, meeting Professor Monet, who's also lived away from the city, just reaffirmed that you can't lose it. It's always in you. And I've been encouraged to just soar, and I'm just ready to soar and take New Orleans with me. So.
Thank you so much, Leah, for talking about your experiences too. Leah and I were roommates in New Orleans, but it was so awesome, just like being able to accompany her and Jess too on the trip, and like hearing from their perspectives as insiders to New Orleans, like what being as me, like an outsider, can be like to navigate a space that's their home. Something special about the trip was that, and the class in general, was that, oh, by the way, my name is Alana. Uh, I'm a senior, and and I major in African and African American studies. Um, Thank you. I'm also studying archaeology, so the marriage of these two majors with this class as well has made me been thinking about how heritage is at the forefront of my working memory. And when I engage with new sites or objects or people, I have been thinking more about my own heritage through these experiences. I remember one of the class trips we went on as part of the New Orleans trip was the Congo Square, which is rooted in so much history, if we're not aware or haven't heard yet. But Congo Square has these humongous trees that have lived in the region for centuries and centuries. Some of the trees we got to witness were 600 to 700 years old plus. They've lived through everything that we have lived through in our lifetimes and generations upon generations. So when I work a lot with wooden objects. I'm writing a thesis right now on two wooden objects that are in Stanford's collections from South Central Democratic Republic of Congo. And I think a lot about how wood and objects hold so much memories. And I think being in this class has helped me think about how my heritage is kind of like a tree, where I'm just kind of like a little seed that the tree has gave birth to in a way. But that tree, which is my heritage, has so many roots that connect and speak to all of the other trees that are in a forest. So I'm really grateful for this class because it's really given me a lot of grounding in expressing my identity, and for being able to enter new spaces with vulnerability and reciprocity too. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Ayana. I don't quite know how to begin expressing my gratitude for this class, this trip, and the people I'm surrounded with today. The class began as something I enrolled in completely by accident, not even knowing that there was a trip involved, thinking it was a history of African and African American studies class. Shortly after, it grew into a defining moment of my Stanford journey, changing the way I think about literature, how I approach complex subject matter, and how I produce art. From spending many nights at Café du Monde with my classmates to roaming around the French Quarter, I learned something new from each and every one of you. As the only freshman in the class, I joked around a lot that you guys are my elders. But what I meant by that was that I learned a lot, and I appreciate everything that you guys taught me with respect. The class content covered everything I could have ever hoped for. I remember the day that I learned that jazz was born in New Orleans and not during the Harlem Renaissance like I was taught during high school. This content reminded me to question whose narratives I'm being taught and where my information is coming from. I realized I no longer wanted a Eurocentric view of literature and spoke to Professor Dieter and Ashante about how to study African and African American studies in the future. Professor Monette taught me that you can make a career out of anything you're truly passionate about, encouraging me to see how art can fit into my life. I cannot thank her enough for being a true mentor to me, creating what I like to call a revolutionary class that truly merges the practice with the theory. I left New Orleans inspired by artists' workplaces like Audi and Studio B and created my own work. I joke that it doesn't exactly fit the collage brief, but if there was one thing I learned from NOLA as a method is that rules are simply guidelines, and the true power comes from manipulating them. So I merged my identities from Canada to California to India to Dubai into an art piece that shows that I don't fit into a box. And yeah, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Professor Monette and Josie as well for the incredible memories that we had on this trip.
My name is Ato Kwesen, and I'm chair of the department. I have these 3 brief remarks. Yes. The first thing I want to say is that all perfection requires a huge amount of work and labor, and that what we see here and also through the New Orleans pre-class and the trip itself required a phenomenal amount of really hard and detailed work. So I want to acknowledge the phenomenal effort that Professor Monet put in, Katie Dieter also put in, our staff at DAAAS put in. And I was bearing witness quietly, but I was observing. And I was observing because for me, as an educator, the most important thing is the opportunity to learn. And I learned so much from them, from the care they gave to the students. I also learned a phenomenal amount from the trip itself. I'm an African. I've been to New Orleans a couple of times, but going on the trip with Jessica as guide ignited a certain specific Africanness about New Orleans that I didn't recognize before. This is not the time to go into all the amazing epiphanies that I acquired. The final thing I want to say is just to say thank you in my language, which is Akan. The word for thank you is simply midase. But midase translated means I lie prostrate before you all. Thank you very much. Midase.
Okay. Okay, now let's eat and be merry. This was birthday gift enough.